I'm so excited who we're in the studio with today because I feel like this episode is going to be so aspirational and inspirational. You grew up in Brazil.
Yes.
Let's go way back and like before you were this like bomb ass businesswoman. Tell us about your childhood.
Okay, thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I have like a vibrator next to me. I have a whole thing going on here. Going back to Brazil, I'm really proud of like where I come from, my childhood days. I grew up in a very small town of Brazil, the state of Minas Gerais, a town where like everybody knows each other, like very small, where I had very limited access to like things in the world in general. But I was very free. I remember like, going out to my grandfather's farm and like going up the mango tree and like chatting with my cousins. And I was just like a very free child growing up surrounded by nature and, playing outside all the time. And I was always a beauty lover. It was in my blood. My passport photo when I was 6 years old, I had a red lipstick on, a bold red lipstick on that I got from my grandmother. But yeah, growing up in this small town in Brazil in general, like the warm culture, I have so many amazing memories of it. And then I moved to the US when I was 14 with my family. Seeing my mom work so hard after a divorce, a tough divorce, inspired me to be independent early. And I think, also like coming from such a small town and a humble background really gave me strength to like, almost like, you move to America, this whole new world, new language, new everything. And I've always been very proud to be Brazilian the way I grew up. But, after I moved to the US, I just really wanted to be independent. And I think it was by looking at my mom and what she was doing to raise her kids that really inspired me to be independent early. But yeah, I'm so proud to come, I'm so proud that I was raised in Brazil, and I'm proud of my country. And yeah, I always try to like, whenever I'm meeting someone, I'm like, yeah, I'm from Brazil, like I'm so proud.
What are some things that you miss about Brazil?
I miss the food, number one, a lot. I mean, I try to cook Brazilian food here. I always do my pão de queijo, which I should have brought to you guys. It's amazing. It's like a cheesy bread. I don't like to.
God.
Yeah,
Sold.
I don't like to call it cheese bread because I want to like, people to know what pão de queijo is, but it's amazing. I'll bring it in next time, I promise. The food and family. I have a huge family in Brazil. Like I have 40 cousins only on my dad's
Holy
side.
shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of us. And yeah, I miss family a lot, but I try to go to Brazil at least 3 times a year.
What were the circumstances behind the move? Like, why did you guys decide to come to the U.S. when you were so young?
It was my mom's decision, really. I remember my parents together. It was, great, but then unfortunately they got divorced, and things got really hard on my mom, on us. We no longer had the support of my dad as we used to. And, my mom had her brother living here in the U.S. with restaurant business, and she decided to move really to provide us a better life.
And it was here in California, or?
No, it was it was in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
The office.
So I lived there for 4 years.
I mean, that's a big contrast compared to Scranton and Brazil.
Imagine like Brazil, tropical, going to Scranton. I felt like an outcast really but I had great memories of Scranton, like high school, but it was really hard for me in the beginning for sure to like fit in,
What was your first job?
My first job was at a restaurant as a bus girl. Do you say bus girl? Bus girl? Am I pronouncing that right?
Busser? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm like, Mom, I just need a job. And I was like waiting for that moment to like be able to get a job, because I heard this is not common in Brazil to like work when you're in school, but it's very common in America, right? And I was talking to one of my friends in school. They're like, yeah, I'm getting a part-time job. And I remember I was like applying for cheerleading. at the time, and I gave up the cheerleading because I did want to work. Like, I saw my mom working so hard, and I felt bad, like, asking her for money on the weekends. And she told me, she's like, Camila, you're way too young. You don't need to. Like, we're fine, and I'm fine, like, giving you money on the weekends. But I wanted to have that taste of independence. Like, it was already in me. And my first job was I applied at a restaurant, and I was like, okay. And then I noticed I was like, cleaning off the tables, like getting the dirty plates out, and like carrying this bucket of heavy plates around. But I was happy. Like, I felt proud of myself that I was independent at like probably 16. I was 15, 16. I don't know. I think it was 15 or 16 that I could work. So yeah, that was my first job.
I heard a rumor that you used to work behind the counter. I want to say Nordstrom's. Is that true?
So yeah, so that was my first job after high school. I worked at a Dior counter at Macy's, the department store.
Which
Yes.
is so incredible because don't you now work with Dior as a brand, as an influencer?
Yes.
So it's really full circle.
Really full circle. And you want to know a really full circle story? Dior was the first brand to invite me to Paris for the haute couture show. So I was sitting front row with Dior, and that moment, I remember 2014, I could like cry that day because really my story with social media started behind the counter. It was, from working at that counter, hustling there, that I decided to become a makeup artist. I saw how empowering and transformative beauty is by working at that counter. You're like, people from different backgrounds with different needs will arrive, and they will all walk out with a smile on their faces. And that was the best part of my day. I hated the retail hours. I hated, like, retail is tough, and I was hustling, but that made my day every single day, like at that counter. So I decided to become a makeup artist, and it was during my makeup artist years that I found social media. I found YouTube, and I finally created my first YouTube video. This is back in 2010.
I want you to talk on it a little bit, because I think there's a lot of people that will look at you and the platform you've built and look at Lauren, the platform she's built, and they'll start to compare themselves as to where they are now compared to where you guys are now. Mm-hmm. But they forget that it's many, many years of work in under circumstances too, when you guys didn't have the resources you have now. I mean, you were working another job and basically doing social as a side hustle, correct?
Exactly.
And I want you to talk about that, because I think it's aspirational and also inspirational for people to learn, like, no matter where they are, they can get started and work towards, what you've built.
No, exactly. This is 2010. People were using YouTube to watch music videos, right? And I remember when I saw this one video, I was there to watch a music video, and then this one video popped up, which was Candy Johnson at the time. She's actually from LA. Love her. And this girl was like teaching me, I was watching the video, right? So teaching me how to do my makeup. And I was like, wait, this is fantastic. I could actually do videos since I'm a makeup artist. I could do videos and help out my family, like my sister that always wants a one-on-one, and learn tricks, my friends and family. And I finally decided to do it. But then I remember even my friends questioning me, like, what are you really doing? You're like, this is crazy. You're just putting videos out there. Like, no one understood it. So in the beginning, it was really hard, especially like, yes, I was working. That was like my hobby. I was still working full time with beauty as a makeup artist, but I was doing that as a hobby. Didn't know it was going to become something. But then when it started becoming something, I remember getting my first box of makeup at home from NYX Cosmetics. Like, I was, oh my God, I'm getting free product. This is crazy. Like, I did not imagine it would become something one day. But of course, like throughout the months, after I created my blog especially and started sharing more content, not just beauty, but also fashion, lifestyle, writing every day, my community started growing more and being more engaged. And I remember I really wanted to go into the fashion industry as well. And especially in the fashion industry, it was really hard for back then to like prove yourself and prove to brands and people that, okay, this is something, like, we're legit, like, we're creators. And it's not like we're, back then you would see the name bloggers you would see in people's faces, like,
people would like cringe a little bit.
Bloggers.
Do you remember the Vogue article that came out? It was like
which one?
There was a Vogue article that was bashing bloggers, and a lot of bloggers spoke up.
I remember.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
and this was already like a few years after I went. Like I had already gone through so many things and like trying to prove myself. But I remember clearly that article.
So what did you do when you broke into the industry and people were having a bad taste about bloggers? For me, it was different than you because my main focus isn't fashion.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine showing up at all these huge shows and people snubbing you when you were working your ass off to create content.
It was tough. Like, you know, and that was one of the things as well that made me like want to work even harder. And almost like, you know, I'm going to prove that I'm legit and that, you know, I belong at these places.
I think that's
and
such
also
a
stop being such a stuck-up asshole.
No, but I think that's such an interesting personality trait because I think like when you have listen, people might like you have a winner and that like those circumstances end up fueling you, but for other people it ends up kind of defeating them. And I think like to hear you say it's important for people to like when people tell you no, you should hear yes in your head and you should push harder.
Exactly.
Same thing happened with podcasting. People are like, what the hell is a podcast when we started this? And now it's like this podcast established a network. Like, people are now won't stop talking about podcasts. Actually kind of annoying now. But in the beginning, they're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. No, but it definitely, exactly what you said. It has made me so much stronger. It made me so much stronger throughout the years. And it gave me more strength to like do better and be better and like, and be innovative but it was hard. It was definitely hard. It wasn't like, you know, today that you see social media and you see influencers and creators and know that that is a business. Back then, it was like a few years, like trying to prove it, not trying to prove it, like doing it and being rejected, being looked at different and, but still doing it to, you know, later on see results.
What about other bloggers? I like I said, I've never been to a fashion show. Like that's not like my landscape of what I've done, but I can only imagine coming into the fashion shows and there's other bloggers that maybe are catty. How did you deal with that?
I've had that a lot in the beginning, but because I came from a beauty background, I feel like when I was stepping into fashion, girls were like, no, you're always going to be a beauty influencer. Like, you don't belong in fashion. I felt that a lot of times. They never said it to my face, but I felt that in ways where like, okay, we're sitting together watching a show and they would invite everyone around them. Oh, let's go to dinner. And they would invite me. And this was like, you know, and at the time I was like, okay, that's fine. But I felt like they were excluding me from it. And it's funny because, you know, life goes on and then the same people come and like they want to collab with you later and they want to do stuff together. So, I mean, all of that gave me strength and it gave me like I said again, it gave me strength to be better and to do better and to prove myself. So, I mean, that happens. It doesn't happen a lot. In the beginning, it did happen to me. But today I can complain, you know. I have great relationships with so many people. But I can count like maybe a couple that were kind of catty to me.
You know what's funny is we've had like I'd say like fashion influencers and bloggers on this show, right? And their story is when they broke in and got into like the fashion landscape and started going to shows that the traditional like fashion people snubbed them. And then you're telling a story about how when they were there, like, and a beauty person comes in, they snub. And it's just funny how things work. But you know, you got to be careful who you snub on the way up because you never know what's going to happen with someone. I always tell people,
how about everyone's just nice to everyone?
Yeah, because
like it's not that hard.
And I tell people all the time, like when you feel you're at the top, like there's somebody below you that is super hungry and willing to do whatever they can to get to that level. And like you can't get comfortable at the top. You always got to be nice to everybody because you never know. Like somebody that works for you could one day you can end up one day working for them.
Exactly.
When did you know, holy shit, this is a business? Like I need to really take this seriously and run it like a business. How early on?
Actually, early on. I remember 2010, I started doing videos, just hobby. 2011, I created my blog. And that's when, like, you know, the first 12 days, we got more than 150,000 unique visitors on the blog, which was an insane number. And it was, I would say 2012, beginning of 2012. That's when actually my husband came in, and that's when things got real. I was like, I need help. I was getting offers from brands to like advertise their product. And I remember at the time was, even if it was just like, okay, you're getting a percentage of the sales, you know how they used to do, kind of like reward style today, right? And it started really getting, I think, yeah, a year and a half after I started, which was quick, I think, because, I mean, again, back in 2010, this was super new. So, but I was very committed. The moment I created my blog, I was committed. I was like, in order for people to come back, I need to be consistent. And I had this mindset really in the beginning. I need to be consistent on every platform that I use. I need to be consistent, especially on my blog, because this is the hub of everything. And if I don't post every day, at least Monday to Friday, people are not going to remember me, right? And this is my mindset in the beginning. It still is today. Like on YouTube, for example, I used to do YouTubes, twice a week. Today, I'm not so consistent, and I see the difference from back then to now, because today I have so many other things going on. But being consistent was so important for me, and being on all different platforms. I was using Twitter. Instagram didn't even exist before until 2012. But then I remember Instagram coming up, and I got the app. I was posting there. I was posting everywhere. Facebook, YouTube, all the platforms I was using to communicate, because there's different people in each platform, right? And some people love Facebook. They maybe don't use Instagram so much. So I was trying to get everyone. And that was kind of like my strategy in the beginning. That's what I think also helped me grow faster in the beginning, the consistency and being present in all social medias.
Besides consistency, now in 2020, what do you think makes an influencer stand out? And it doesn't even have to be an influencer, just any kind of creator.
Any creator.
Yeah.
I think what makes a creator stand out today is being authentic, number one. And this, when I say being authentic, is not just like being yourself and who you are, but being authentic to like true to you. Like, who are you working with? Is it organic? That what are the brands you're advertising? Is it products or a brand that you truly believe in? And your followers, and this was also a mindset that I had since the beginning. Like when I was making no money, I was saying no's already, because there were certain things that would come in that I was like, how can I do that? And maybe it wasn't, a brand that I already liked, but the product I didn't like. And one thing I always did was to try product before I say yes to an offer. And I think that is number one, like earning your followers' trust, right? And I used to think, if I mess it up, if I don't be real with them now, they're going to see it long term. And I want this to be long term. So it was very important for me to say no's in the beginning until now. So I think being authentic, working hard. I mean, a lot of people think that being an influencer is easy. It's so much work. You know it. There's just so much that goes, it's very overwhelming. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love it. There's a lot of,
I think it's an easy
moments.
way for people to discredit. Like they'll look at someone like you and say like, well, I could do that, but it's easy. Like it's like this must be so easy, and it's a way to discredit and invalidate what you do. And it's a harder truth to face. Like, oh shit, that's a lot of work, right? Because a lot of people don't want to put in that work.
Yeah, and you're basically in the beginning when I didn't have a team. Really, I was everything. Like I was the creator. I was you're really doing everything. You're writing. And it's so much pressure too, and so much responsibility. I always say the bigger you are, the more responsibility you have to inspire people in a positive way. So like think 2-3 times before writing a caption. Like, how are you going to impact people in a positive way by what you're posting? Not that you can be organic and like fun. Of course you can, but I always think in the back of my mind, like, how is this content going to affect people? There's people of, different culture, different ages that are watching me. And a big responsibility that I have too is to talk about my real life struggles and show people that, my life is imperfect. I feel like a lot of people with a big voice have been doing that a lot throughout the last years, but it became social media, I don't know if you remember this or if you felt this, you guys, like maybe 2 years back, social media was only about like the glamorous life, the glamorous things. And I remember even an article came out about like the amount of teenagers having depression because of social media. Like you're only seeing like this perfect life. You know, if I have a bad day, I don't like to look at social media because it's just, you know, the filter of everyone's perfect life that does not exist. There's no such thing as a perfect life. Everyone goes through struggles and difficult things. But us, like people with a voice, is that my phone?
Is that the vibrator?
No, it's right there.
Oh,
I'm so
like, is that, that's
It's
okay. I'm
my
like,
phone. Is that the vibrator?
I'm like, is that the vibrator?
It wants to work.
I was
already.
worried it was the vibrator because I was like, oh shit.
So people with a voice and a platform, it's very important that we share our struggles, that we share, you know, the things we go through so that, you know, people who are watching us know that, you know, we're just like them and that their life is okay. Like we all go through struggles. We all go through difficult things. And I've been trying to do that a lot, you know, throughout
what
the
are
years.
some struggles that you've shared with your audience that you think have really resonated and maybe helped people?
I've shared a lot of them, you know, especially when like, even when I'm just having a very overwhelming week or I'm at Fashion Week, the most glamorous moment of the year, right? For fashion, like I'm there watching the shows front row, but then I'm very overwhelmed. There's so much to do. There's not just going and sitting on the show. It's the getting ready. It's, you know, stopping at an event. It's doing interviews in the middle of it. It's a lot. And there are a lot of times at Fashion Week that I'm not feeling my best self, that I'm feeling, you know, there are a lot of times at Fashion Week that I have cried. And a lot of times after an event that I'm meeting like only people that want to see me there, but then afterwards I have a breakdown. Not because I'm not happy, but just because it's a lot of energy. It's very overwhelming. Everything we do and all the energy we put into all we do and content especially is a lot. So showing that is very important. But I think the biggest thing I've shared with my community was about my epilepsy journey. I was diagnosed at age 9 and my whole life I kept it for myself. I did struggle a lot when I was a teenager and I was able, thankfully, in my 20s, I was able to accept myself. And, you know, it was during my 20s that I started on social media. And I always thought that it was okay to not share. But then again, last year was a big year that I thought, okay, it was kind of bothering me. I knew it was something, it was like kind of the only thing I had never shared with my followers. And I knew also that it would not only be liberating to me to just let that out, although it would be scary, but that I will probably be able to help a lot of people. Not only those living with epilepsy, which there's a lot of us. 1 out of 26 people are diagnosed with epilepsy throughout their lives. But those people who struggle with accepting themselves or with their life problems, you know? So I shared that in February of this year, which was Epilepsy Month, and it was the best thing I did. It was very scary to do it. I just didn't know exactly what type of... Because there's still such a huge stigma out there about
For
epilepsy.
someone that doesn't know a lot about epilepsy, can you speak on it? What is it like on a day-to-day? Is it something that affects you every single day or just when it happens? Like, describe what it's like living with it.
So there's various different types of epilepsy. Like I myself, I have dysrhythmia, but there's many different types of epilepsy and many different levels as well. So me and you, we could have dysrhythmia, the same type of epilepsy, but we could have different levels of it. Yours could be severe. Mine can be more controlled. And when I say that is, mine is thankfully more controlled. Every time, if I'm on medicine, I've never had a seizure. So every time I had a seizure in my life was when I was off medicine, because the doctor recommends you to be off medicine every 4 years just to see if you still need it. But there's a lot of people, children especially, who have seizures every day, even on medicine. There's people who, I mean, even though I know like that mine is controlled, I'm still scared. When I have, you know, a really bad headache, when I feel dizzy.
Is that when
I get,
something might come on?
Yeah.
Like there's things that you will
What
indicate
about
it.
if you're driving? Do you get nervous when you're driving?
No, I don't get nervous if I'm driving, but then if I have a really bad headache and I'm driving, then I'll get scared and I'll probably stop the car and have my husband drive or, but what I'm trying to say is there's so many people who live with it on their daily lives. They don't know if they're going to have a seizure on an event in front of everyone. You don't know. And the doctor's like, and there's children who still don't know the cure or the right medicine for their type of epilepsy.
What does it feel like when you have a seizure? Or do you not remember?
I remember all of them. My first one, each one of them were different. I've had it while I was sleeping. But a lot of people ask me that, does it hurt? What do you feel? And I for me, it's not like even a relief to say, oh, it doesn't hurt, I don't feel anything, because I know it hurts the people who are watching it much more than it hurts me. Like, I don't feel anything. It's almost like I went to sleep. Some of them I see, my first one, I was 9. My fingers started closing one by itself. And I couldn't control it. I couldn't open it. It was just closing my hand. And that's when I ran to my friend's mom. I was at her house playing with her. And she saw something was wrong. And I remember myself like fainting in her arms. And the next thing I remember that day was my mom calling my name. We're probably on the way to the hospital. And I couldn't respond to her. And that was the most traumatizing thing for me, because like I knew I was fine, but she didn't. And from that moment on, I never wanted to have a seizure in front of anyone, because I knew how much it was going to hurt them. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't hurt me, but I know how much families struggle with, having people or children or whoever in their family who has epilepsy. I always say, like, it's not only about the person who has epilepsy, it's the whole family. Like, they're heroes. And a lot of people, a lot of families are dealing with this on an everyday basis, like taking care of that person. Unfortunately, not everyone is like my case, who gets to live a normal life. Like a lot of people are with epilepsy are sensitive to flash, to lights, or they can go to a concert. So imagine me like, being photographed and being at events, but I'm okay with that. So it's different. Answering your question, for every person it's different. There's different levels, there's different types. And if anyone wants to know a bit more about epilepsy in general, I'm today a board member of the Epilepsy Foundation, which I'm really proud of, and trying to help them, raise awareness and funds and bring awareness and end stigma, really. Because a lot of people, you still say, like, until this day, I mean, growing up in a small town, especially, like, oh, I have epilepsy or my daughter has epilepsy, people will look at you like, oh my gosh, is she a bit crazy? Can she process things right? And it's not that, there's different types, there's different levels.
Do they know what brings it on? Like, is it stress? Is it, you said flash, but is there something specific, or do they not know enough about it?
So what triggers the seizure is tiredness, lack of sleep, stress.
Which is why probably Fashion Week is not the best thing.
Yeah, I mean, Fashion Week has been always really scary for me. And one of the things, I've always tried to do a Fashion Week. A lot of times I have to say no to events or to opportunities, because I know I need to get my rest. I know I need to get like my sleep in at least. And, there are times that I sleep 5 hours a night, but then I need to take another 2 days to sleep really well, just to prevent. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I don't want to take the chance, right? But it's if you're diagnosed, those are the things that will trigger the seizure the most.
And you don't drink alcohol, I read.
No, yeah.
No alcohol ever,
because of my epilepsy.
Does that trigger it too?
Well, if you drink alcohol, it will take the effect of your medicine a little bit. So, I mean, if I drink a little bit of alcohol, it won't. But doctors recommend you not to drink, because they don't know how much you're going to drink, right? So I remember when I was diagnosed, actually, this is a funny story. My doctor said to me at 9 years old, Camila, So the only thing you cannot do is drink alcohol. And I laughed. I was like, ha ha ha, I don't want to drink alcohol. I thought he was going to say you can't play a certain game or you can go on a roller coaster. And I remember that was like, I was fine with that until my teenage years. And that was when I really struggled. I moved to the US, this different country, different language. I was trying to fit in already. And my friends started partying and I couldn't drink. I just, my mom always told me, don't drink. You can't drink. And I wanted to do it. And when you're insecure about something, it's not really like I wanted to drink alcohol. I just wanted my friends to see me equal like them. And I've gotten many things like, oh, why don't you drink? Are you scared? Is there something wrong with you? And all of those things would make me feel very insecure and different. And it got to a point that I sat on my bed, and I remember this day clearly, and I talked to myself and God, like, I'm not going to have seizures. And I said, I'm not going to have seizures anymore. I'm going to be cured, and I'm going to stop my medicine. I didn't accept it. I mean, the fact it was one medicine, right, a day, and I didn't accept it. So I ended up having, after a few months, I had a seizure in high school in front of all of my friends. And I remember waking up in the hospital and just crying, like bawling. And I looked at my mom and I was so ashamed of what I did.
Did she think you were taking the medicine?
Yeah, okay. She didn't know. I took it away. And I thought to myself, she's going to be so mad. I can't even look at her. And we had the best conversation that day. And one of the things I say, if you're struggling, especially as a teenager, share with your family, share with your friends, share with those who love you, because they can help you. My mom didn't know I was struggling, and that's why she didn't help me. So what she said to me in the hospital was so meaningful. She said to me, Camila, there's people fighting for their lives every single day. There's people with epilepsy who have seizures, who take medicine like you and still have several seizures a day. You are able to take one medicine and know that you will be okay. And know that that one pill is going to control your seizures. So how lucky are you? And I heard her saying that, and it was almost like it completely changed the way I felt about my condition. I mean, it wasn't overnight, but I kept thinking about that every single day until it got to a moment that I was like, I am so blessed. I am so lucky. And it made me accept myself and love myself the way I was and realize that everyone in this world has a different challenge and different struggle. And that was mine. And yeah, that was the hardest part of my epilepsy journey. But then, throughout the years, I decided to share because it's still like a little weight on my shoulders.
I bet you've helped a lot of people because you have a huge reach.
Hopefully I did, yeah. The amount of messages I got, the amount of people who shared their stories with me, it was incredible. It helped me out a lot too, especially now that I'm thinking of having a family, having a baby. This past year has been such a big year for us, for me and Icaro, because we want to have a child, and it's also very sensitive when you have to take medicine. You can either get pregnant without medicine, but then if you have a seizure, you can lose your baby. Or you can get pregnant on medicine, but then there are higher risks of, having an abnormal pregnancy. So the decision is so hard. And I remember in the beginning of the year, before I shared about my epilepsy journey, how sensitive I was, even talking about it. Like, I could never have this conversation with you guys or anyone before I shared my story. And by sharing my story is what made me stronger to talk about it, to talk to others, and to listen to other people who go through the same. So by sharing my story, I got to listen to so many moms who had epilepsy their whole lives, who got pregnant on medicine and had 2-3 healthy babies. So that helped me make my decision.
Well, I think when you tell stories like this, you know, someone from the outside will look at you, and this will happen to any successful person, and they'll hear you saying something like, Fashion Week is hard. But for most people, like, and I understand because we've been to these events and it is hard and trying, but unless you've actually done those things, you're going to say like, I would do anything to be at Fashion Week. So right, they're not going to relate to it. So when you tell a story like this, it humanizes you in a way where people are like, oh my God, she's a person. She has struggles like me. Like I can understand, and people can identify with you a little bit more and relate to you more, which ultimately makes them more vested in your story and also more engaged in what you're doing. Where, you know, when you see, I'm not going to name anybody, but when you see successful people go and complain about like success, right? Like, oh my God, it's so hard that business is booming and that I have to go to these great places. What it does is people are like, listen, you're complaining about something that they would literally cut their right arm off for. And so it's important to humanize yourself because what it does is it makes people understand like, oh, she's human like me and we all struggle, whether it's, you know, they may not have epilepsy or but they have something.
Issues.
There's something. Like we all have something. And I think it's important.
It was probably comforting too for you to hear from other mothers that have beautiful babies now that had epilepsy.
Yeah, no, it was life-changing, really. Like I was so scared. You know, every woman has like almost 2% chance of having an abnormal pregnancy. That is for every one of us. And with certain epilepsy, and you don't want to add any 0.5% of anything, right? When you're pregnant, it's like, you don't want to. And when my doctor said, I recommend you to get pregnant on medicine, I freaked out. I was like, if something happens, if I have an abnormal pregnancy, I'm never going to forgive myself. But then also if I do it without and I lose the baby, I'm also not going to forgive myself. So it was really hard. So listening to these stories and facts, like made me, today I have my decision made and I'm so comfortable with it because I got to listen to all of these stories.
I think that another person that opened up like you, and it was so interesting to watch, like everything that happened, was Chrissy Teigen.
Yeah.
So many people were so evil that she shared what she shared about having a stillborn birth. And I was talking about this the other day, and I keep talking about it because I think it's important that people that are so beautiful and thin and rich and have it all and have the house and all the check boxes, humanize, like Michael just said, what's going on and show them that just because you do have it all, in quotes, things still happen. And what that does for other mothers is there's a lot of people that have had stillborn births. And so now they can say, okay, Chrissy Teigen's talking about it. I can now talk about it. I feel comfortable. It's so important to have these conversations.
It's exactly what you said. So many people, the week that I shared especially, so many people came out about their epilepsy on their own social medias. That for me was like, wow, I can't even explain. And, you know, so many comments like that. Oh, I can now talk about it and I don't have to be ashamed, because epilepsy was there's still a huge stigma there, like I said, and so many people are afraid. I've heard stories of, you know, people who shared with their boss that they have epilepsy and they got fired the next week because, you know, they probably thought the person wasn't so capable. So we need to my goal is to use my platform and my voice to try to end stigma and to bring awareness to it, because there's still a big problem out there.
I think about, like, this is a weird analogy. You guys might not follow me here, but I think about like a neighborhood in the 50s, and you go there, and I wasn't alive in the 50s, but you go and you see these like picture perfect houses, right? And everyone's out there putting their best face forward, but then you never know what's really going on the inside. And it makes it hard for the community to really like understand who people are. And I think social media is just a massive amplification of that, where you look and someone has a really, really pretty page and pretty brand, but you can't really tell what's going on. And I think one good thing that's happening, if there is something good from social media, is that people are starting to kind of like show behind the house and show behind the pretty picture and say like, hey, we're all humans having human experiences. And I think when you do that at a mass level, it enables the spread of information, which makes people understand people more and also get a little bit more educated on other things. I mean, especially this year, where there's so many things that we've seen that have been impactful that, you know, people just weren't talking about. And when they do, it helps people learn. And I think like a lot of the problems in this world stem from people being ignorant, right? And if you take that ignorance away and start educating people, you can start to help each other a little bit more. And so I just think about like that weird analogy where like you drove this neighborhood and everything looks perfect, but you know it's not perfect on the inside. And same thing with social media, just super amplified.
Nothing's perfect. Nothing is perfect. And by the way, perfect is fucking boring. So nothing's perfect.
I agree.
How has your husband been a part of your journey? When did you meet? Tell us the story behind that, and then tell us how he's integrated in your business if he is.
We met through friends. It's actually a funny story. We met through friends. It was my birthday party. He came along with a friend of mine, and that's how we met. We discovered that we were from the same small town in Brazil.
That's weird.
And
in America, you've discovered that here while
in
you're
America.
both. Wow.
Yeah, we met in America, and that was our first connection. Like, oh my gosh, we're from the same town. And I mean, he came to the US younger than me, but he will always go back like vacation time. And I discovered after that all of my friends knew him and I didn't. So it was meant to be, you know, for us to meet here. And we've been together for 15 years, married for 10. I met him, we started going out, I was 17. And he's my everything. I mean, he's not just, you know, my husband and partner, but he's the person who really like lifts me up every single day, who gives me courage, who in the business as well, like plays such a huge important part. Right in the beginning when he could have saw that I was, you know, I had a passion for the social media and what I was doing and creating videos. I remember like I was shooting those on the weekend because I was working throughout the week. And I said one day, oh, should I really be doing this? And he said to me, yes, you should. I see that you love it. Why not? Like, do it. It's something you like doing. And so he always encouraged me to do things I love. He always encouraged me to be myself and to be strong. And he has played a huge part, especially on my epilepsy journey. So yeah, he's my everything. And he's today, you know, my business partner. He was super involved in the launch of our beauty brand, Aloluz. So yeah, I love him so much.
Lauren, why don't you
I can't wait to have babies with him.
Lauren, you better be talking about me like
together?
this.
No, because it is challenging to work with your significant other. At least for me,
I thought you were gonna say Michael's also my everything.
You are my everything, but you can be very annoying. How do you guys work together seamlessly? Like, there's a lot of annoying things you do. Like, I always say, like, I don't want to be told while I'm eating my breakfast at 7 a.m. that like I need to call the bank today.
Exactly.
I want to blow my fucking head off when you do that.
Well, good to know we're on the same page. Well, you know, that was one of the hardest things in the beginning when we started working together. It's like, how do we separate things, personal from professional? And a lot of times I see myself saying, wait, if it was someone else from the team, you would not speak to me that way. Like, so it's really hard to separate things and like to know the time as well. Like you mentioned, in the morning, I don't want to, when I'm drinking my coffee, I don't want to hear, okay, you have to post this today, you have to talk to someone. Or at nighttime when we're sitting on the sofa and watching our Netflix like series, oh, this about work, I don't want to. So we kind of made rules in the house, like that, you know, after a certain hour, we don't talk about work. And it works well. I mean, sometimes we break the rules, but most of the time we try to follow the rule.
If you were going to say you never broke the rules, I was going to say,
No,
I was going to leave the interview.
No, there's no way. But like, you know, we've been working together for so long, and there was definitely a year I remember it was really hard, but we made it work, and we work well together today. Like we tried to, you know, he has his territory. I have mine. And, you know, I'm the creative side, he's the financial side. So today's much easier than it used to be before. Like before he was like photographing me as well. We were like on top of each other all the time. So today we're able to make it work.
But don't you think it's so...
I don't want to have sex and you ask me my bank login while we're having sex.
I don't know, might turn me on.
No, that doesn't turn me on. Like, please.
Maybe that's what we'll do. Like we'll have sex. I'll talk to the bank. But don't you feel like it's... Well, if you can figure it out, and we talk and say like maybe not every couple should do it because it is. I mean, same with us. It's really, really difficult to figure out. But if you do, don't you feel like it is really rewarding to work with your partner?
It's so
and build
rewarding.
Something.
Yeah, it's the best part of it. It's like you know, we're building out. Like we always have goals together. Number one, and that is one of the things that strengthens the relationship the most. Like having goals together, achieving things together. Like we always have something to look forward to together. and we're always kind of in the same page. And the experiences we get to live together because of work. When I travel, go to a cruise show or go somewhere in Europe and have this experience, he's with me.
And he probably appreciates it as much as you do, because you're both doing it.
Exactly. So it's really rewarding at the end of the day to build all of this together.
I feel like you guys are like us, where a lot of couples are pushing a boulder uphill and they're different boulders.
Yeah.
And with Michael and I, it seems like with you guys, you're pushing the same boulder up the same hill.
Exactly.
And as challenging as it is, it's also nice too sometimes. What are some of your best kept skin secrets? Skin is huge on this podcast. You have beautiful skin. What are like some products that you're obsessed with? Is there something that you do that's maybe very Brazilian-esque that Americans need to know about? Like, give us some tips.
So it's funny that you talk about skin now, because I was like complaining about some skin damage, like skin stuff that I have going on the side here.
No, it's looking glowy.
But yeah, I'm so picky about skincare. Always been, especially when I started putting a lot of makeup on, like when I started working as a makeup artist. I noticed early on that, taking care of my skin and my skincare regimen was so important for my makeup to look good. And for my skin to look good throughout the years and to prevent wrinkles and all of that. So I have some like Brazilian, I remember my grandmother making all these things like hair masks, face masks, like from home. I remember face masks with like honey and she used to put so much stuff. I have some recipes I can actually give you. But with skincare, my main thing is a good wash your face, definitely double cleanse. Cleansing is so important. If you don't remove your makeup right and you're putting your skincare on top of that with the residue, it's not going to be good for your skin. So really cleanse your skin, double cleanse, and tone it before you put your products on, like your serums, your moisturizer. So double cleansing, number one, and then hydrating my skin, like vitamin C, oils, serums. Those are very important to me. Especially a serum or oil that works before your foundation as well. That's going to make your makeup look so good.
And you have one here in front of me.
I do, the Elaluz beauty oil. I actually developed that product thinking about, an oil that I could use before makeup, because there's so many oils out there that I love, but that don't work so well before makeup. And this one is very like velvety.
Oh my God, it smells so good too.
It has a ton of like Brazilian ingredients in it. And it's clean. It's a clean product. It's EWG verified, which I'm really proud of. And it's really difficult to create, a clean product. So yeah, skincare is everything to me. Like the right skincare. I started going to dermatologists early on, and she will always tell me one thing, like, make sure you put on skincare that is clean, that almost acts like medicine for your skin. And because there's a bunch of cosmetic stuff out there that you put on, your skin is going to feel great the next day, but it's not going deep in preventing, aging and all of that. So it's very important. I love skincare. I am a skincare freak. I'm always changing up my regimen as well.
I started to notice that I was using too many different products.
Yeah.
And that was fucking up my skin. And now I like really simplified it,
Yeah.
and that made a big difference, I noticed.
Yeah, for sure. There was a time where like the more you use, the better it was, but it's really the opposite. The less you use, the better it's going to be. It's really about choosing the right product.
What about a makeup tip that you can share with our audience?
So a makeup tip.
Maybe using one of your products, because they're on the table right now and they all look amazing. Is there
one great makeup tip that I have is with our lip and cheek stain. I use that product on my lips and on my cheeks for like a natural flush. So especially now during, COVID, we're staying more home. There are days I just want like something very little on my face, and then I want to flush. Like I want my husband to look at me and be like, she looks cute, but she looks like she has nothing on. So that's perfect. I put a little bit of concealer under eye, and I put that on my lips and on my cheeks, and I have like this beautiful red like flush, but very natural. That's a trick I love. I mean, I always need to have something on my lips. And even when I'm wearing like nude lipstick, like today, I have that under, because when my nude lipstick comes off, I still have like that flush on my lips,
Sold. Sold. Can you leave our audience with a book, a podcast, or a resource that you feel like will bring them value? Something that you're listening to, reading, watching, could be anything. Could even be a Netflix show.
I will leave them with a book, The Secret. It talks about the power of attraction, which I really believe in. It's about, the energy that you put to the world, that you put into the world is what you're going to get back at you. I feel like, the energy that we spread is so important on our everyday. There are days that I wake up feeling down and I don't even know why. And instead of like trying to figure out why I'm feeling sad, I instead stop and say, okay, what should I be grateful for today? Why should I be happy? Why should I smile today? And then I start counting the simple things in life, right? Like I have a roof on top of my head. I have health. I have a loving husband, a loving family. And then I'm automatically feeling happier. So, and a lot of times, things are always going to happen. You're going to be leaving your house, your tire's going to go flat, and then you're like putting all that negative energy and heavy energy into that. And maybe that was actually saving you from something worse happening, in your day. So I believe so much in energy and how energy can impact our lives. So The Secret is a really interesting book of how you can...
I'm trying to teach Michael about it.
Well, what's funny though? It's
really
like,
hard.
it is the simple... Lauren always makes fun of me because she's like, do your gratefuls. And my gratefuls is like wife, baby, dogs. Like those are like, that's the thing that I'm like grateful for in my life. And it's funny, it's not funny. We lost a dog this year that was 17 years old. That was like everything to me. And I think about like even all the stuff and I would give, my partners probably don't want to hear this. I would give everything away, all the everything to get that dog back.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like you take little things in life for granted until you don't have them. And I think people need to remember like it's the little things that matter the most, not all the other stuff.
Exactly.
Before you go, tell us about your beauty line. Pimp it out. Tell us how you started it, why you started it, what the name means, all the stuff.
So my beauty brand is called Aloluz. It means she's light in my native language, Portuguese. And it is inspired by the warmth and the confidence that comes from everyone's individual light. I truly, like I was saying, and light for me is energy. Light is love. Light is, that inner light. I always say we're all born with it. It's in there. It's ours. It's unique. Some people might try to show you that their light shines brighter, but it's up to us to let that light shine through. And once you let it shine through, you're able to be whoever you want to be in this life. And I'm an example of it. Elaluz is a lifestyle brand developed with essential products from skincare to makeup to hair, body. There's so much more coming, and we're a clean, sustainable brand, which I'm really proud of. So yeah, I'm really passionate about this brand. I don't want to spend too much talking about it, but...
What's the main product if you were to start with one product? I feel like I am going to start with the lip and cheek, but what would you start with?
It's hard. It's almost like choosing a baby, your favorite child. I'm really passionate about the oil. The beauty oil is just, for me, it's been life-changing, like especially before makeup, before I go to bed, on top of my moisturizer. Because I'm people think I would say like a makeup product, but skincare, that oil for me is just really amazing because it's clean as well. And then second, the lip and cheek. But also, I have to pick everything. The dry texture spray, my hair's so fine and I need texture every day. But number one is the oil for me.
Okay. I love it. Pimp yourself out now. Where is your Instagram? Where can everyone find you?
Pimp myself out.
Yes,
okay.
Pimp yourself out.
My Instagram is at Camila Coelho. And you can find me also on YouTube for beauty tutorials. There's a lot of content on my blog at www.camilacoelho.com.
We're going to link everything out too.
I'm not pimping myself, so right.
No, you are. And your product on Instagram, where can they follow?
My brand is Aloluz on Instagram, and Camila Coelho Collection for my fashion label.
And it's Elaluz.
Yes.
Cute.
Elaluz.
Thank you so much for coming on and opening up. Our audience is going to love this episode. You can come back anytime.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You.